Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Bookie Monsters. Welcome. If you're new to the channel, welcome back. If you are new, I appreciate everybody watching. My name is PK. This is Bookie Monsters. We are lovers of books and eat books like Cookie Monster. Nom nom. Uh, this morning show, Coffee Chat, is intended for us to look at the new books that are coming out each week. Monday, we looked at mysteries. Tuesday, we looked at romance. Yesterday, we looked at sci-fi fantasy and some cozies. Today, we're going to look at straight fiction. There are a lot of them out there, so we're going to just jump right into that. I'm going to turn that off, and we're going to jump into here. The website we're looking at is bookriot.com, and this one covers the main publishers. It's not comprehensive, but it gives us enough to look and get an idea what's out there. Again, this is just straight fiction. And the first one we're going to look at here, well, let's take a look at the covers though. There's a lot of cooler tones here, a lot of green, kind of pretty. All right. Make sure we are all on the same page. Looks good. First one is At the Coffee Shop of Curiosities by Heather Weber. A mysterious letter, an offer taken, and the chance to move forward. When Ava Harrison receives a letter containing an unusual job listing 1 month after the sudden death of her ex-boyfriend, she thinks she's being haunted. The listing, a job as a live-in caretaker for a peculiar old man and his cranky cat in Driftwood, Alabama, is the perfect chance to start a new life, a normal life. Ava has always been too fearful to even travel, so no one's more surprised than she is when she throws caution to the wind and drives to the distant beachside town. On the surface, Maggie Mae Brightwell is a bundle of energy as she runs Magpies, Driftwood's coffee and curiosity shop, where there's magic to be found in pairing the old with the new. But lurking under her cheerful exterior is a painful truth. Keeping busy is the best way to distract herself from the lingering loss of her mama and her worries about her aging father. No one knows better than she does that you can't pour from an empty cup. But holding on to the past is the only thing keeping the hope alive that her mama will return home someday. Ava and Maggie soon learn their kindred spirits as they're both haunted, not by spirits, but by regret. Both must learn to let go of the past to move on because sometimes the waves of change bring you to the place where you most belong. That is At the Coffee Shop of Curiosities by Heather Weber. Next up is Bellies by Nicola Denan. I wore a dress on the night I first met Ming. It begins as your typical boy meets boy. While out with friends at their local university drag night, Tom buys Ming a drink. Confident and witty, a magnetic young playwright, Ming is the perfect antidote to Tom's awkward energy, and their connection is instant. Tom finds himself deeply and desperately drawn into Ming's orbit, and on the cusp of graduation, he's already mapped out their future together. But shortly after they move to London to start their next chapter, Ming announces her intention to transition. And that's all I'll read of that one. That one's called Bellies by Nicola Denan. It kind of reads like a young adult, which is not really my thing. Next one, Disobedient by Elizabeth Fremantle. That looks like a historical, which is my wheelhouse. A riveting novel based on the life of Artemisia Gentileschi, the greatest female painter, I've heard of her, of the Renaissance, as she forges her own destiny in a world dominated by the will of men. This is the ring that you gave me, and these are your promises. A young woman is put on trial. She has accused her painting teacher of the darkest betrayal. Excuse me. He accuses her of being an immoral liar. Coffee is required. What really happened, and why will this trial scandalize 17th century Rome? Rome, 1611, a jewel-bright place of change with sumptuous new palaces and lavish wealth on constant display, a city where women are seen but not heard. Artemisia Gentileschi dreams of becoming a great artist. Motherless, she grows up among a family of painters, men and boys. She knows she's more talented than her brothers, but she cannot choose her own future. She belongs to her father and will belong to a husband. As Artemisia patiently goes from lesson to lesson, perfecting her craft, a mysterious tutor enters her life. Tassi is a dashing figure, handsome and worldly, and for a moment he represents everything that a life of freedom might offer. But then the unthinkable happens, a violent act that threatens Artemisia's honor and her virtue. In the eyes of her family, Artemisia should accept her fate. In the eyes of the law, she is the villain. But Artemisia is a survivor, and this is her story to tell through our current lens, but hopefully it has some good historical stuff in there too. Hi, Mary. It's okay. Just woke up and have to take the girls, so we'll probably miss you. So sorry, tired apparently. I hear you. Have a great day. You do too. Thank you so much for popping in. No, I get it. It's Thursday and I'm dragging too. Extra coffee is probably going to be required today. And I have a drinking problem. Ugh. All right, next one. Family lore, Elizabeth Acevedo. This is apparently her first novel for adults. Fleur has a gift. She can predict to the day when someone will die. So when she decides she wants a living wake, a party to bring her family and community together to celebrate the long life she's led, her sisters are surprised. Has Fleur foreseen her own death or someone else's? Does she have other motives? She refuses to tell her sisters Matilda, Pastora, and Camilla. But Fleur isn't the only person with secrets. Matilda has tried for decades to cover the extent of her husband's infidelity, but she must now confront the true state of her marriage. Pastora is typically the most reserved sister, but Flora's wake motivates this driven woman to solve her siblings' problems. Camilla is the youngest sibling and often the forgotten one, but she decided she no longer wants to be taken for granted. And the next generation, cousins Ona and Yadi, must face tumult of their own. Yadi is reuniting with her first love, who was imprisoned when they were both still kids. Ona is married for years and attempting to conceive. Ona must decide whether it's worth it to keep trying to have a child, and the anthropology research that's begun to feel lackluster. Spanning the 3 days prior to the wake, family lore traces the lives of each of the Marta women, weaving together past and present, Santo Domingo and New York City. Told blah 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 about the author. That is Family Lore by Elizabeth Acevedo. If you like generational things, that's not bad. Now, this is a pretty cover. Jezebel by Megan Bernard. I bet she was very happy when she saw that. Jezebel was born into the world howling. She intends to leave it the same way. When Jezebel learns she can't be a king like her father simply because she's a girl, she vows never to become someone's decorative wife, nameless and lost to history. At 15, she's married off despite her protests to Prince Ahab of Israel. There she does what she must to gain power and remake the dry and distant kingdom in the image of her beloved, prosperous seaside homeland of Tyre, beginning by building temples to the gods she grew up worshiping. As her initiatives usher in an era of prosperity for Israel, her new subjects love her and her name rings through the land. Then Elijah, the prophet of Yahweh and her former lover, begins to speak out against her. Bitter at having been abandoned by Jezebel, he lashes out, calling her a slut, harlot, witch, and the people revering their prophet's message turn on her. As ancient powers and faiths are pitted against each other, bloodshed descends on Israel, and Jezebel faces the fall of her legacy. Determined, despite the odds, to make Israel a great nation, she must decide how far she's willing to go to protect her family, her throne, her name. A stunning revision of Notorious Queen's story, Jezebel is a thrilling lyrical debut about a fierce woman who refuses to be forgotten. I have thoughts, but I'm not going to say anything because we have too many books to go through. The Apology by Jimin Han. In South Korea, a 105-year-old woman receives a letter. 10 days later, she's been thrust into the afterlife fighting to head off a curse that will otherwise devastate generations to come. Sorry, my light just a little wonky there. Hak Jeonga has always shouldered the burden of upholding the family name. When she sent her daughter-in-law to America to cover up an illegitimate birth, she was simply doing what was needed to preserve the reputations of her loved ones. How could she have known that decades later this decision would return to haunt her, threatening to tear apart her bond with her beloved son, her relationship with her infuriating, insolent sisters, and the future of the family she has worked so hard to protect? That is The Apology by Jim and Hunt. The Bookbinder by Pip Williams. That looks adorable. A young British woman working in a bookbindery gets a chance to pursue knowledge and love when World War One upends her life. I'm in. It is 1914, and as the war draws the young men of Britain away to fight, women must keep the nation running. Two of those women are Peggy and Maud, twin sisters who live on a narrow boat in Oxford and work in the bindery at the University Press. Ambitious, intelligent Peggy has been told for most of her life that her job is to bind the books, not read them. But as she folds and gathers pages, her mind wanders to the opposite side of Walton Street, where the female students of Oxford's Somerville College have a whole library at their fingertips. Maud, meanwhile, wants nothing more than what she has to spend her days folding the pages of books in the company of the other bindery girls. She is extraordinary but vulnerable, and Peggy feels compelled to watch over her. Then refugees arrive from the war torn cities of Belgium, sending ripples through the Oxford community and the sisters' lives. Peggy begins to see the possibility of another future where she can educate herself and use her intellect, not just her hands. But as war and illness reshape her world, her love for a Belgian soldier and the responsibility that comes with it threaten to hold her back. The Bookbinder is a story about knowledge, who creates it, who can access it, and what truths get lost in the process. Can we not just have a story? The Connollys of County Down by Tracy Lang. When Tara Connolly is released from prison after serving 18 months on a drug charge, she knows rebuilding her life at 30 years old won't be easy. At 30, you're a child. I'm kidding. We feel old at that age. With no money and no prospects, she returns home to live with her siblings, who are both busy with their own problems. Her brother, a single dad, struggles with ongoing effects of a brain injury he sustained years ago, and her sister's fragile facade of calm and order is cracking under the burden of great secrets. Life becomes even more complicated when the cop who put her in prison keeps showing up unannounced, leaving Tara to wonder what he wants from her now. While she works to build a new career and hold her family together, Tara finds a chance at love in a most unlikely place. But when the Connolly's secrets start to unravel and threaten her future, they almost face their worst fears and come clean or risk losing each other forever. That is, I'm not that book in particular, but just the whole um, album that we've gone through so far is why I like to read uh, genre fiction like mysteries, sci-fi, fantasy, and romance because the focus is on the quest. To me, general fiction is very angsty, and I don't necessarily want to read that in my leisure, but there are people who do, and that's why there's all kinds of books out there. The Freedom Clause by Hannah Sloan. Could one night off a year save a marriage or destroy it? Dominic and Daphne met in their first week of college, and they've been happily married for 3 years. They've settled, they're settled and comfortable, maybe even too comfortable. They love each other deeply, but their sex life isn't what anyone would call thrilling. So on New Year's Day, Dominic blurts out a suggestion before it's even fully worked out in his mind. What if they open up their marriage? Daphne agrees with conditions. They can sleep with one other person one night a year, and the agreement has a 5-year expiration date. It's not a total free for all on their vows, but an amendment, a freedom clause, a small change to put some pep in their partnership. Excuse me, after 3 years, you probably shouldn't have been married in the first place. Commentary. It isn't long before Daphne and Dominic find themselves and their marriage altered in unexpected ways. Well, no kidding. Embracing the spirit of the clause, Daphne pushes herself to be more assertive in asking for what she wants. When she begins chronicling her journey of self discovery in a newsletter, sharing recipes inspired by her conquests, and detailing her new outlook on life, she realizes that one night off a year isn't a small change, it's a seismic one. Before long, Daphne and Dominic are reconsidering everything, each other, their relationship, and their, well, yeah. Can they survive the freedom clause? Do they even want to? That one is not my cup of tea. I'm already angry at it. The Keeper of Hidden Books by Madeline Martin. Again, this one looks up my alley. World War II. It is 1939, and nothing could prepare Marta and Janina for the Nazi occupation of their homes and families in Warsaw. Friends since childhood, the two women couldn't be more different. Marta is Polish and a stubborn, practical planner. Janina is half Jewish with fanciful ideas of war and heroism. But as the bombs rain down on Warsaw and Hitler's forces surround the city, a series of tragedies spur them to action. Both avid readers, they find ways to join the war efforts using one of their only weapons they still feel safe that feels safe to them, literature. While Marta and her father become active in the underground and work to salvage books in danger of being destroyed, Janina aids a secret library in the ghetto, lending and delivering books to orphans. At, as the roundups and executions intensify, these books become a life preserver for members of their community. But the closer Warsaw gets to liberation, the more dangerous it becomes for the women and their families, and escape may not be possible for everyone. Through the destruction and death raging around them, Marta and Janina must fight to preserve their culture and community, finding hope in each other in order to survive. That is The Keeper of Hidden Books. The Last Ranger by Peter Heller. A lyrical novel about an enforcement ranger in Yellowstone National Park, which is only a couple hours away from me. Maybe less than that. Who likes wolves better than most people. When a clandestine range war threatens his closest friend, he must shake off his own losses and act swiftly to discover the truth and stay alive. Officer Ren Hopper is an enforcement ranger with the National Park Service tasked with duties both mundane and thrilling, breaking up fights at campgrounds, saving clueless tourists from moose attacks, bison attacks would be more like it, and attempting to broker an uneasy peace between the wealthy vacationers who tromp through the park with cameras and the residents of Hardscrabble Cook City, been there, who want to carve out a meaningful living. When Ren, hiking through the backcountry on his day off, encounters a tall man with a dog and a gun chasing a small black bear up a hill, his hackles are raised. But what begins as an investigation into the background of a local poacher soon opens into something far murkier. A shattered windshield, a series of red ribbons tied to traps, the discovery of a frightening conspiracy, and a story of heroism gone awry. Populated by a cast of extraordinary characters, famous scientists, tattooed bartenders, wildlife guides in slick airstreams, and bursting with unexpected humor and grace, Peter Heller masterfully lends a portrait of the American West where our very human impulses for greed, love, family, and community play out amidst the stunning beauty of the natural world. Princess by Wendy Holden. Britain, 1961. Ooh. A bouncing blonde baby is born to Viscount Althorp, heir to the Spencer earldom, and his wife Frances. Oh, this is about Diana. Diana grows up amid the fallout of her parents' messy divorce. She struggles at school. Moving to London, she takes menial jobs as a cleaner and nanny. Her refuge throughout it is novels. She dreams of falling in love and being rescued by a handsome prince. In royal circles, there is concern about the Prince of Wales. As there should be. Nearly 30, Charles remains unmarried. The right girl needs to be found and fast. She must be young, aristocratic, come to the royal family without any past liaisons, side note, and also be a virgin. The 18-year-old Diana Spencer is just about the only candidate. No, she's not. Her desperation to be loved dovetails perfectly with royal desperation for a bride. But as the ruthless palace machine starts up, wow, having a slant here, there are challenges for Diana to face, from press intrusion to a certain Mrs. Parker Bowles. Can her romantic dreams survive the forces that shape her into a global icon? Commentary. That is The Princess by Wendy Holden. It is very interesting to see once you reach a certain age. I'm a Gen Xer, and having lived through that time period that they're writing about, you see things differently. I'm not saying I think any of the parties in that particular relationship, all parties involved were perfect or right. They're human beings, they're flawed. But seeing it from this time period, having lived through that time period, you definitely see the slant, the spin, the PR, and while I might have been interested in that subject matter, it looks like they are going in a direction that it would be hard for me to read. But I suppose that's how people learn about that time period if they didn't live through it. Those We Thought We Knew by David Joy. Toya Gardner, a young Black artist from Atlanta, has returned to her ancestral home in the North Carolina mountains to trace her family history and complete her graduate thesis. But when she encounters a still standing Confederate monument in the heart of town, she sets her sights on something bigger. Meanwhile, local deputies find a man sleeping in the back of a station wagon and believe him to be nothing more than some slack-jawed drifter. Yet a search of the man's vehicle reveals that he is a high-ranking member of the Klan, and the uncovering of a notebook filled with local names threatens to turn the mountain on end. After two horrific crimes split the county apart, every soul must wrestle with deep and unspoken secrets that stretch back for generations. Those We Thought We Knew is an urgent unraveling of the dark underbelly of a community, richly drawn and bracingly honest. It asks what happens when people you've always known turn out to be monsters. What do you do when everything you ever believed in crumbles away? You walk away and leave people to their own demons. It's not up to you to solve the world. Again, commentary. Oh, I have commentary today. Tom Lake by Anne Pratchett. In the spring of 2020, Lara's three daughters returned to the family's orchard in northern Michigan. While picking cherries, they begged their mother to tell them the story of Peter Duke, a famous actor with whom she shared both a stage and a romance years before at a theater company called Tom Lake. As Lara recalls the past, her daughters examine their own lives and relationship with their mother and are forced to reconsider the world and everything they thought they knew. Tom Lake is a meditation on youthful love, married love, and the lives parents have led before their children were born. What? They have lives before that? Both hopeful and elegiac, it explores what it means to be happy even when the world is falling apart. Oh, look at that. Uh, as in all their novels, all her novels, Anne Pratchett combines compelling narrative artistry with piercing insights into family dynamics. The result is a rich and luminous story told with profound intelligence and emotional subtlety that demonstrates once again why she is one of the most revered and acclaimed literary talents working today. Tom Lake by Anne Pratchett. Look at that. We got all through them right when the bell rang. Awesome. All righty. The bell going means that my time is up for the morning. I've got to finish getting ready in the next 5 to 10 minutes here and grab my stuff, grab my dog, and head to work. Hopefully it's a better day than yesterday. Yesterday was stuck in IT hell, and I was so glad when I was able to come home and read my book and escape all that. I appreciate everybody showing up this morning or coming back in later to see. Those were the new releases this week in general fiction. Not my cuppa, as you probably figured out, but there's books for everybody. We are doing reading sprints tonight at 6:05 Mountain Time because I'm in Montana, so that would be 8:05 Eastern Time. Bring your own book. We're just there to read for 2.5 hours. I'll be here again tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Mountain Time, and we'll go back and pick up the other books that we haven't seen, like some of the cozies and so forth. Mary said, back again, got them out, walked, conducted some high-level business, and now we're there. See, we take care of our babies. Yep. There's not some, I tend toward the historicals, but there wasn't bad books in there. I will see you later. All righty. Thank you so much, everybody. And hopefully see you tonight. Hopefully see you tomorrow morning. Otherwise, have a beautiful, beautiful Thursday. Bye-bye.